incredible.
You know, I used to see Daddy a strong man. And now you're seeing he's wasting away. This is your partner. You can't save him. There's nothing you can do. Dialysis is a silent killer. That one will waste you away day by day because it will beat you and beat you and...
Hello everyone, welcome to part 2 of the Mulwa's ONGEA Na Kaptain. It's the show where more is being to be told, to be unfolded, the stories that you have never heard. We are continuing our discussion with the Mulwas about the life before and after the late Reverend Mulwa went to be with the Lord. Otherwise I say welcome and God bless you. So welcome back. We are back and we continue just to have a discussion with the Mulwas.
Yes.
You're having good time.
Yeah.
So just to go back to Mr. David, I know there's a time you remember about your special moments you had with your dad and time you spent with your dad. Can you just give us a brief review on special moments in your life as a kid?
I would say, just being out in nature with him. Dad was adventurous. Dad loved to explore, to see new places, and just do activities outside the house. I know it's, many people later in his life saw him in the house or in a church or in a building indoors a lot. Mm-hmm. But that's just, I think, because of his health and just circumstance. Mm-hmm. But naturally, he was a very adventurous person. Some of my fondest memories of Dad is just on weekend trips, just going around exploring Columbus, seeing new places. Being out in nature, Lake Mohican, or out here, Alum Creek, was a very big thing for him. Or Nafziger Park out here on the east side, Sharon Woods Park. I mean, we'd go all over the place. So I think those are the fondest memories. Just always having a very curious, very adventurous, very open mind to see new things and explore new places. Mm-hmm. That's just who he was.
So, Mama, I know we talked about his losses for some years now. How are you coping with the loss, since then? Because
Well, let me first tell you the losses are not easy. Yeah. It was very hard for me. And it began when Pastor broke his hip because we didn't expect that because we had... I never thought that he had broken his hip. And funny enough, David is the one who found him outside. He had fallen and it could not come up. So when he was taken to the hospital and they said they were going to do surgery, that's when I started feeling, sometimes your gut feeling tells you this is not a good thing. And I've had many people when somebody breaks their hips, most of the time it doesn't turn well. So that's when I started really feeling afraid. Really, really afraid. Because I didn't know, this is a man that I loved, I've grown. Being married for 33 years it's like, this is all you know. Mm-hmm. And now this is a guy that can't do anything for himself, he's sick. It was very difficult. And then he was taken to rehab to see if he can get better. He got better a little bit. Then he was admitted at the hospital. So we went again back to point 0. I could not sleep. I was very anxious. My stomach turned for almost 2 years. Seeing Daddy every day going down the hill. I'm praying, and the church is praying. And I'm like, God, where are you? But God had a plan for Francis. We know everybody has a journey, a way of exiting this world. But I didn't think that this would come that way. But I thank God because all in all, through my ups and downs, through my struggles, I remember I would come home, I would not even be able to sit up like you can see me seated up. I would lay flat like a snake, and my body could not support itself. And during that time, I continued just trusting and praying and just believing God somehow something will happen. But when things got worse and Pastor went to be with the Lord, I continued telling God, you know, I'm left with you, you know. Everything else is just sinking ground, so you better hold me. I remember there were days I would think that the earth would open and suck me up and not to exist anymore in this world. And I continued praying. I continued looking up to God. I continued reading the word. People prayed for me. They would call and then encourage me, and I would be in a lot of pain. That pain, no one can understand, because it hits you a different way. And especially somebody you loved and somebody who you'd want to live with them forever and ever. Yeah, it hit me so hard, but right now I'm getting to some place where I can be comfortable and say, it's okay, it's okay. Daddy has rested. He was in a lot of pain. Yeah, and sometimes we can be very selfish. Even when he was in that pain, I didn't want Daddy to go.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you want to hold on to him. And there were days I would pray and think, my God, when I get there, can I see Daddy seated up? And you tell me, let's go home. But God, finally, after some time, God told me, that's how I healed him. By taking him, I healed him. He's no longer in any pain. And I got kind of peace. And I started just growing slowly, step by step. And there were some, Daddy used to sing those songs from Jim Reeves. And there's a song, One Day at a Time.
One day at a time, yep.
And that song, and even I play it here, and there is this other group that sings Firm Foundation. Christ, my firm foundation. So those have been things that have held me to stand and to share.
Just on that note, you know, it's not easy to lose a loved one.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who have undergone the same grief.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the most difficult part of grieving, like you have undergone?
The grief for me, my grief started when Pastor went to be in the hospital. And the doctors would tell me, you know, Dad, besides these cushions, dialysis is a silent killer. That one will waste you away day by day, because it will beat you, and because many times he would go for dialysis, then his blood count goes down. Then he goes for blood transfusion. And I tell you, you know, I used to see Daddy a strong man. And now you're seeing he's wasting away. This is your partner. You can't save him. There's nothing you can do. My grieving started when he broke his hip. And the hardest part was to see him go down. I remember there were times, during that time, I also signed for classes, for counseling, because I thought I was going to go insane. Because it was a lot of pain. And I thought I wasn't going to make it. So I had to sign in for counseling. And still counseling, It never made me get where I wanted. But I think with time, they say time heals. I don't think it will ever heal me from thinking about pastor, but it will help me every day as I move forth, as I move forward. God will continue giving me that strength and that peace. And these days I no longer fear death. It's like I've come to terms that anything can happen. It's not promised that you have tomorrow. But one thing I know, I want to be where God is.
So what encouragement can you give to the people, viewers who will be watching this? The grieving is there. You have to accept what comes, because there's nothing you can do beyond what God has done. What advice can you give to people who are undergoing through the same situation?
For me, the advice that I could first tell them, the first and foremost, if you have a husband, you have a wife, before things get worse, enjoy and appreciate. I can't emphasize that enough. You know, life is lived in stages. For any woman, any husband, I know there are tough days that you don't even want to talk to your wife or your husband. But enjoy. Work it out. Talk to your wife, talk to your husband, apologize, and keep moving. Because once that person is taken away and he's never coming back, you will regret. But if you enjoy now, you look back and say it was worth spending time with my husband, spending time with my wife, appreciating them and telling them good words, doing great things for them. I remember sometimes I'll tell Daddy, we don't have this, he'll tell me, hey, no, there is a card. Go buy whatever you want. How many men can do that? So men, give your women cards. Women, be nice. Be nice, be nice, be nice. Don't go overboard.
Thank you.
So
let me just come to David. That's a good advice for we couples. Thank you, ma'am, for that. I think that will hit most couples very good. So, how do you feel about how you feeling now? Are you in a healing process a little bit, or?
That's a good question. Am I healing? I would say in a sense, yes. Like Mom's said, I don't think the pain ever goes away. You just learn to live with it. I think the one thing that keeps me very, very balanced is my family's great support system. My sister's my mom. And, for those who haven't seen him, my nephew just keeps us on our toes. So he's always that joy, that grief is kind of taken away a bit, because you have the joy of a new baby and new family member. But I think for me, the way I just have a great support system with my family, a great support system at church. My girlfriend's been amazing, supporting me and this family, and it's just good to surround yourself with people who care. I think your network is your net worth, really. And it really does take a village. And Dad was very big on I am because we are.
That's true.
So it really does take a village. You should have a village, and I think that's what helps me the most with it.
And do you have special ways you remember your dad?
Oh man, yeah, all the time. I see Dad everywhere. Even if I see someone on the street in a walker or in a wheelchair, I'm like, my mind goes to Dad. I think the special way I remember him is more of the man he was, how kind he was. He was a very big personality, in a good way. Not someone that would dominate. Like there's people that get into spaces and dominate, take over things. But Dad was, and I'm going to say it this way, he was strong enough to be gentle. He was a people's person. He could relate to almost anyone. I don't think he ever met a stranger. I think I have that gift. He had the gift of gab, which I have. He was really a people's person. He loved God. He loved his family. He loved his community, and really was an upright man. I don't even think there was a time where Dad could do something for us, and he said no. Dad really was a very big part of shaping me to be the man that I am today, just because of his values, integrity, his honesty, and just how he treated other people.
Back to Mom, do you have special support, like people maybe when you feel like you need support system, you have people around you?
Yeah, my support system, first we begin with my children. My children have been there for me, they pray with me. There is a quote here in our house, David, Lisa, and mostly this one, our son David says, Mom, we are not alone, we are going to make it. So to have that support system from my children, I also have many friends, many friends who encourage me out of state, and ONGEA outreach ministries. I have even guys who encourage me and who tell me, Mama, we are together, we are going to continue praying. My sister-in-law back in Philadelphia is another strong anchor for me. She really calls me just to check on me. And sometimes you might cry on the phone. We cry a lot, because that was his best friend, his best sibling. So yeah, we talk and we encourage one another. And we know we'll see him someday in glory. And we always remind each other that, you know, this is just a temporal life we are living. But we need to continue longing to serve God so that we can find a place in heaven. You know, you have, when the Bible says, work your salvation with fear and trembling. We have to be very careful on how you are living your life. It's not just going to church and singing, hey, Bwana ni mwema, and then you come home. You have to really search yourself. So I have a good support system, even for people who are back home. And you know, in many churches that we served back home, I still have contact with some of them. And they'll write, even my former bosses in Kenya, they'll write to me and just encourage. And they all call me mtoto, mwana. And you know, you feel encouraged and you feel loved. And everybody loves to be loved and to be acknowledged and to be cared for. So I have good support system, and I can't assume my children. I all give God the glory for my children, for my friends, even for you. You've encouraged me many times, Captain, and your family. So I have much appreciation to those who have stood by us, supported us. You know, now we have only one income, we pay our bills, but somehow God brings things around and we are able to pay these bills and whatever else we need. And to have Malachi, that baby boy, you know, he's called Malachi Mwanzia. So Mwanzia came back. And we are very appreciative, and even when he comes here, he's so excited to be home here. So.
And that's a book in the Bible that most people even don't remember.
Malachi.
Yeah,
Malachi.
Yes, Malachi, yeah. And you know, when Malachi was born, they came here. So we kept saying, Mwanzia's spirit is still here. And we see him, he has some few mannerisms about Pastor Mwanzia.
More than a few.
More than a few.
More than a few.
So, and he gives us a smile. So, God takes and God gives back.
Okay.
To just give us that love. Whatever he does, he doesn't do that to harm us. If there's anything that we can thank God for after Daddy's passing, is a growth in spiritual life. I see David carrying his Bible, going to sit. This one, whenever Daddy would say it's time to read, what did David would say, oh, I'm sleepy, or I'm going to use the bathroom. But now to see David holding the Bible, Seeing Eve go sit somewhere and read.
To see
Lisa seated down with a book, writing down things. That is God.
That's good.
And you have to go through some situations in order for you to grow. And to grow in a very healthy, special way. So that is passing.
Yeah, but we also say, let your pain have purpose.
Ooh, yeah.
Let your pain have purpose.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You know, don't just be in pain. We're all in pain at some point, or are going to be in pain at some point. But that pain should serve a purpose. And I think for our family, it's definitely drawn us closer to each other as well as closer to God as well.
Yeah.
So both of you, is there any time at your own time, is there anything that makes you just comfort yourself besides people outside?
Is there anything that comforts me other than other people's support? Wow, these are really good questions.
Yeah. And you have to think hard.
Yeah, I'm campaigning for Mr. Donald to be on 2020 ABC. These are 2020 Barbara Walter questions.
And you know, I did journalism, but I've never used it. Now I'm using it.
I would say, outside of other people, for me, scripture. I feel like maybe there's some things, you know, I was recently doing just a self-study of the book of Ecclesiastes. In chapter 3, it talks about there's a time for everything. Time to build, time to destroy, time for peace, time for war. I think that has been something that's kind of been my mantra. And we also in the book of Hebrews, where it's saying, you know, God is, and I'm paraphrasing here, where it's saying, you know, that things will be shaken. And, you know, essentially that God is always cleansing, you know, his people, you know, and God himself is a consuming fire. And I think that gives me hope. It gives me encouragement to know that, you know, things like these that happen to us happen to people every day. Every day people are losing loved ones. At some point we're going to be the people who are being mourned after, right? And it's very funny because in the book of Ecclesiastes there's a passage that says, you know, the former generations are forgotten, and then the generation now will be forgotten by those who are to come. So like when you start thinking like that, and this is Solomon towards the end of his life, where he's like, a lot of these things that we really prioritize and think are important in our lives, it doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. And he was also saying that he can find, and he says this multiple times throughout the 12 chapters, he can find nothing better for a man to do than to eat, drink, and enjoy the work of his hands. He sees this from the hand of God, because really, the things that we chase, the houses, the cars, whatever it is, at the end of the day, when the music fades on your life and the sun sets, no one is going to remember, you know, Captain was driving that car, or Tina lived in that house, or David worked at that job, or made this money, or Lisa was doing whatever. People will remember how you treated others, if you loved God, and how you impacted other people, and did your faith play out. I think that's, if there was ever a person that we should have an example of, as Dad. Because even when Dad was in dialysis, he's calling people to check up on them, visiting them. Selfless. Even when his face is swollen up and has Cushing's, he's at school getting his PhD for a Doctor of Divinity. He's checking up on people. He's still faithful in the ministry, raising his family, loving his wife, loving his kids, and still impacting and in Denny, kids who will never meet him.
That's right.
But he's impacting their lives. And I think there's nothing more than, Dad is a perfect example of your faith working out in your life despite your circumstances. So I just reflect on Dad's life and the challenges he went through, and find encouragement that if he could overcome some of those things, because Dad lost his dad when he was 17. He lost his father as a teenager. So for me, we had almost double time together than he had with his dad, and still his life turned out the way it did, and it's an encouragement to me.
Okay. And how is Nendeni, ma'am? I just David just talked about that. I know he's like the foundation of him.
Yeah. Well, Enendeni right now we haven't been doing much about Enendeni, but we are in the way of making, some of the children, as you have graduated from universities, some have started working, but we are looking forward to incorporate more children to come to Enendeni. We have those who have graduated, they act like big brothers and big sisters. So they're still going well with school, and I'm hoping soon, this year, 2025, to go visit them, because the last 3 years it has been really rough. I haven't gotten to sit with them. Normally when I go home, they're in school, but I would wish and plan to be there when the schools are closed, and maybe just sit and just hear them and hear their parents, their guardians talk about their issues and stuff like that. Yeah, so. But it's all in God's hands, you know. One good thing, they've never gone hungry. We still send money there, but of late we haven't been doing very well. But we are hoping we are going to continue just doing the good work, providing for whatever they need. Yeah.
So what can you tell the viewers about it? And because maybe there are people who like to know about it and they want to support it.
Enendeni is Go Ye Outreach in Swahili, is our mission arm in Kenya. We started in Enendeni, where we started serving at Mongala African Inland Church. And we have, if somebody would want to support these children, most of them, their parents have died. We started with the children whose parents died of AIDS. And we support these children from their homes. We don't put them in an orphanage. We just support them while they are at home, so that if we serve one child, the other siblings can also have food. And mom or grandma can have food to eat. So if you would want to support, we have Go Ye Outreach Ministries, and you can reach that. We are located here in Columbus, Ohio. Go Ye Outreach Ministries. So you can Google there and you'll find much information about Enendeni.
We're located at 1421 Morse Road, Columbus, Ohio, 43229, and we meet every Sunday at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And we'd love to have you.
Yeah.
And people in Kenya, we put all information there, so people in
We are
Kenya
also
will
live
also,
on
if you need
Facebook and
Yeah.
if you feel like you
YouTube.
need support,
Yes.
we put the number there, maybe the Kenyan number, you can.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah,
that.
we can help them out.
Okay.
And we thank God because of that. It has been, I think, among the biggest part we have been having. We used to have each year
Every year a walk.
raising money for that project. And we thank God because of that fund. He started with the late Reverend Pastor Mulwa.
Yes.
Just to back to Mr. David, how have you supported your mom through all this grief now? You guys, I know healing, it doesn't go that fast, but God's grace, you guys, you smiling, I see your mom is smiling, and we don't want whatever God did, we just say thank you God, and
Yes.
life has continued.
Yeah.
How have you supported your mom?
I would say that I think we talk every day. I mean, multiple times every day. I think she's either calling me or I'm calling her. And I think we're always encouraging each other, you know, and not just we pray together, we encourage each other. We're on FaceTime all the time, and sometimes we'll see Lisa on the call. Or Eve will be added to the call, and we'll see Malachi as well. And I think just being close as a family, and you know, one of my New Year's resolutions for 2024 was to be more present for family. And this year I learned that, you know, you don't have to be physically there to be present. You can be, you know, check on them, pray with them, encourage them, you know, come to see them too. That's important. But you know, with the distance, I think helping mom, and we talk all the time about life, about work, about relationships, about just life things, and we really just we could talk on the phone for hours, And she's been, if it wasn't my mom, this would be like a very good friend of mine. Very blessed to have her, and I think maybe having someone for her to talk to as well. And I think this is where kind of my girlfriend has helped in a great sense, where she also has developed her own relationship with mom, and mom is always so happy to talk to her, and they're always exchanging ideas and laughing. So I think that if there's one thing that this family loves to do, we love to eat and we love to laugh. So but definitely we laugh and we just thank God, you know. And it's just back to mom's point about the couples. If you have time for your person and you guys are young, you have money, you have the time to do it. Now is the time to do it, because you know my mom and dad used to say, "Oh, one day when we retire, we'll get an RV and." Dad say we'd travel across the U.S., but you see that time never came. You know, so because when you make those plans, that you're assuming everything is going to be okay until that point. Now, if you get to that point, that's a blessing. You thank God. But some of us will not get to that point, and you say, you know what? We've had money, we've traveled. For me, I'm big on traveling. Let's see the world while I'm young, you know, and I don't have kids, because you know when those things come, I can't say, oh, it's time for us to go to Tokyo. Let's go to Rome or this state, you know. So, it really enjoying each season, and the biggest quote that Dad always used to have: "Life is lived in stages," which goes back to Ecclesiastes chapter 3, where it's just saying there's a time for everything.
Yeah.
So the time that you're in, the season that you're in, it could be a good season, it could be a bad season. But that's just life. Life is not linear. It's up and down. And you have to make the most of it. And even in those bad seasons, there's good in it. You just have to look for it. I mean, we had a horrible, I think, you know, grief. We lost Dad, and then 6 months.
We lost my dad.
We lost my grandfather in July of 22.
We got daddy. We lost daddy.
March
then
23.
in 7 more months we lost.
Then I had an aunt who passed away, a very close aunt who passed away. So really, in a span of a year and some months, we lost 3 very prominent family members. I think that has revitalized our faith, but also has taught us the value of each day. And I think when you live with that kind of mentality, Lord, just give me strength for today. I think you learn to appreciate the little things a little bit more. And I think that's how I've helped support Mom. I show up in little ways.
What if all of us came together to do something incredible? An anthem.
Americans.
So what are you doing to kind of promote that idea of a cultural identity within your involvement with the people you work with in your church?
Usually I do that, and we are trying to do that through working collaborations with our cultural organization like Angaza, which is based in Columbus, founded by Captain and you and others, to instill that sense of, you know, we are here, we are in a foreign country, and we need, even as we chase the other goals, we need to remain who we are. How can we be Kenyan Americans? How can we pursue our our goals, our American dreams, without losing a sense of who we are? Yeah, and the main questions, I base it in the Bible, is the question that the Israelites found themselves asking themselves while they were in captivity in Babylon. How are we going to sing the Lord's song?
Are you seeing Kenyans here as being captives?
No, of course we came here. No, I would rather use the term economic refugees, but we are in danger of becoming captives to the dominant culture.
Coming back now, you know, Pastor was a community person. He loved Angaza like this.
Oh my God.
He made the campus dance every time.
That was Dad right there.
And I have videos about that.
Dad loved life.
Are we still cherishing that moment, because we need to carry on with those?
Oh, we will. We will continue.
David need to come back with the
Lisa, lead the way.
Tell us about Angaza, because even myself, I can attain and I can testify. Then we come to Angaza, like he was a community person. that he really poured his heart into the community, that there's no way you can differentiate. He's a pastor, he's not a pastor, you know. It was just, the way you guys said, he was just an outgoing person to everybody.
Yeah. You know, many times what the children see from their parents, they learn a lot from their parents. You know, Pastor Mulwa's dad, before he became a pastor, he used to do this cultural dance. He was the drummist. And my sister-in-law talks about, days, you know, those big drums, you'd just carry on your shoulder. And he used to play that. But ever since he got saved, he started going back to call those people. There is a man called Jesus who saves. And sometimes my mother-in-law's home was just a small house. And people all over, even from Maasai land, from name it, if they had to come to the hospital, that was the place at Pastor Mulwa's home. That after my father-in-law became a pastor, that was a place where people came to find shelter so that the following day they can go to the doctor's place. Yeah. And he learned even their languages. He would go to the bars and tell them, hey, there is a man called Jesus. Jesus who saves. Jesus who came and died. You need to be saved. And that's even when you go back home and ask Kasema, they will tell you about my father-in-law. He never segregated and said, I'm a church person, I can't associate with these people. And that's what Pastor Mulwa saw, and God instilled that in his heart to go out. And that's why this word, go ye outreach.
Going out.
This is something that their father had. This was their dad's idea. Go ye out. Because we are called to reach out to those who are perishing, to those who do not know God. So Pastor had that and ran with it. And this is now our time to hear the voice of God calling people and coming. And as we call them, let's just be that person whom they can see a change in you. Not just calling them and you are on the sidelines.
Maybe you can add on something, then you can look at that camera and give us a parting shot as we.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, I think for me, to build on what she said, it goes back. Actually, I want to quote your last interview with Dad here. Dad talked about that, and he called it cultural ministry, and he was saying that it's important for us, and I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, it's important for us to retain our culture and not get so immersed in the culture that we're in. Being here in America, so he says cultural ministry is also maintaining our traditional values, our norms, our morals, and not letting society compromise those. Like, we're a very family oriented culture, and we should maintain that. That's just just as an example. So I think that was something that was near and dear to Dad's heart. But like Mom said, he was Grandpa, Dad, Dad especially was just, I never saw him talk to anyone or say, oh, I can never talk to that person or those people, or I can't even associate with those people. I think over the years, having people here come to this house, we've had all tribes, all people, all groups, all walks of life in this house. So I can't even say there's one group. I think maybe if you grew up on a remote island, maybe we haven't had you here. But Dad really open door policy here. But a parting shot for me. Thank you so much for tuning in, and my sister will be filling in for me. But it has been a pleasure. And like I said, my name is David Mulwa. At Go Ye Outreach Ministries, we're at 1421 Morse Road, Columbus, Ohio 43229, and we meet every Sunday at 11 a.m. We'd be happy to have you. So thank you, Mr. Donald, for this opportunity, and Mom, you keep carrying the torch for us.
Thank you, Mr. David.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, let's wait for this. Let's take a quick break.
A quick break.
Then.
Mwokozi, sina mwingine, ninakuja kwako, nisikie, uniokoe katika wako na mimi